Hello, today's story takes place in Northern Ireland, located in the northeast of the island of Ireland, known as the Green Kingdom. Located on the outskirts of Lisburn, Northern Ireland is a special prison called the Maze Prison. This is one of the most notorious prisons during the turbulent times in Northern Ireland, where prisoners involved in armed military activities were held. Inside this prison, there are 8 identical buildings that, when viewed from above, form the shape of the letter H. These buildings are named sequentially from H1 to H8. Security here is extremely tight. In addition to a 4.66-meter high fence, each H block is surrounded by 5.5-meter high concrete walls with watchtowers and patrol guards 24/7. All the doors in the prison are made of solid steel and are protected by codes. Each H block is divided into 4 sections A, B, C, and D. Each section has 25 cells with a maximum capacity of up to 200 prisoners. The central area of the H blocks is the hub of the entire prison, housing the warden's office, common room, locker room, communication room, tea room, etc. The activity area for prisoners is highly restricted, and most of their time is spent locked in their cells. The Maze Prison is considered one of the hardest prisons to escape from in Europe, and escaping from here is nearly impossible. In 1983, 38 prisoners executed an escape plan. Did they succeed? Next, I will tell you the details of the event. The main character of the story is Brandon MacFarlane, born in 1951 into a Catholic lamb family in Northern Ireland. At the age of 16, he went to a school in Lordwell to study. At 18, after witnessing a bloody riot, he joined the Irish Republican Army IR, an armed organization formed in 1919 to fight against the British government in Ireland. This organization used violence for an extended period to achieve its political goal of unifying North and Lamb Ireland. MacFarlane, being exceptionally talented and intelligent, quickly became a core member of the organization. In 1976, at the age of 25, he was involved in a shooting at a pub that resulted in 5 deaths and over 60 injuries. He was sentenced to life imprisonment by the court and confined in the Maze Prison. After entering prison, MacFarlane was held in H Block 7, which housed IRA members. They considered themselves prisoners of war and believed it was their duty to escape to continue serving their organization. MacFarlane once attempted to disguise himself as a blind man to escape, but was detected by the wardens. This event did not discourage him, but further solidified his determination to escape. In 1981, the prisoners staged a hunger strike, and MacFarlane was the commander. To boost morale, he nicknamed himself Big Fella. Interestingly, this name was inspired by a biscuit company. This struggle made MacFarlane famous in prison. The IRA also paid a high price for this struggle with 10 casualties. Later, when recalling that struggle, MacFarlane emotionally described it as probably the darkest year of my life. Although there were political achievements, the failure of that year will forever haunt me. However, MacFarlane did not yield to these failures. In May 1983, a large-scale escape plan was being secretly devised. MacFarlane, along with his close comrades, was planning a bold breakout. The leader was still MacFarlane, then 32 years old. Joining him were 2 key members, Gerry Kelly, 30, and Bobby Storey, 27. All 3 shared the same ideals and beliefs. From a young age, Kelly was very active and always aspired to become a great figure. He joined the Irish Republican Army. Later, during an operation in London, Kelly detonated 2 bombs, killing 1 person and injuring nearly 200 others. At the age of 20, Kelly was sentenced to life imprisonment for the bombing. After entering prison, he began a hunger strike to demand a transfer to the Maze prison in Northern Ireland. After 60 days, the wardens had to intervene to save his life. Eventually, Kelly was transferred to the Maze prison as he wished. Bobby had 2 brothers and a sister. Growing up during the war, his family had to constantly move. Bobby understood the hardships of his parents, so he dropped out of school early to help his family sell fruit. Influenced by his family and surrounding environment, Bobby joined the IRA at 16. He was arrested over 20 times by the police, but was released each time as he was still a minor. Later, Bobby was charged with possessing a rifle, sentenced to 20 years in prison, and confined in the Maze prison. The Maze prison resembled a massive maze with many buildings and intricate pathways. Each prisoner had a designated activity area and was not free to move around. The 3 of them could not grasp the entire layout of the prison. Therefore, they utilized their daily time in the yard to recruit more accomplices for their escape plan. After careful consideration, they realized that the traditional tunnel digging approach would not be feasible, as it could easily be discovered. They decided to execute a large-scale operation, taking control of the entire guard area of the H7 facility to disable the alarm systems and create an opportunity for more people to escape. To build good relationships with the guards, MacFarlane and his associates proactively initiated conversations, flattered them, and acted like brothers. The guards fell into the trap, becoming increasingly sympathetic and often conversing with them during playtime. Using this relationship, they extracted valuable information from the guards and even managed to get assigned to work in the central area of the H8 prison. Prison life was monotonous and repetitive, and the guards performed their duties mechanically every day. Over time, the habits of the guards and the layout of the prison became clear. MacFarlane's group secretly smuggled in 6 pistols, equipped with silencers and several daggers. Through conversations with the guards, they learned that the guards did not carry heavy lethal weapons, only batons. Therefore, with guns in hand, they would have an absolute advantage in their escape attempt. Once preparations were complete, they faced another problem: how to reach the main gate without being detected by patrolling guards after escaping the H7 building. They learned that every Sunday, the H7 building received food supplies from outside, delivered by a truck. By taking control of the guards in the H7 building before the truck arrived, they could seize the driver and use the truck as a getaway vehicle. Coincidentally, every Sunday, the number of guards in the H7 building was the lowest, only 24, and from 2:30 p.m. to 4:00 p.m. was the prisoners' outdoor time, the most opportune time to act. After 4 months of meticulous planning, they set the date and named it the Great Prison Break. The H7 building had a total of 125 prisoners, all members of the IAA. Most were aware of MacFarlane's escape plan, but only 38 decided to escape. The rest would stay behind to support, guarding the subdued guards and preventing them from sending out an alarm. On Sunday, September 25, 1983, at precisely 2:30 p.m., all prisoners in the H7 building were allowed into the yard. Among them, 24 were assigned to clean the central area, including MacFarlane, Kelly, and Bobby. All three hid pistols on their person, working while monitoring the guards' every move. That day, there were 24 guards on duty, including 2 senior officers, 16 supervising guards, and 6 fixed duty guards. Besides the central area, they were scattered across different locations within the prison. The H7 building layout was as follows. The main entrance led to a large hall, usually patrolled by 1 guard. On the right was the tea room, where guards took breaks and had tea. On the left was the communication room, divided into 3 small cells. Typically, each cell had 1 guard monitoring prison activities through a surveillance camera system. Deeper inside was a large door, always locked, only opened with permission from the main hall guard. Further in was a wide hallway, also usually patrolled by a guard. The hallway led to the dining area and the 4 entrances to the H7 building. Passing the hallway, on the left was the common room and locker room. A guard was always on duty in the locker room, often keeping the door closed to avoid disturbances. On the right were the guards' offices and the sports room. The 2 senior officers usually worked in their offices, but occasionally went out on patrol. Although the guards were scattered, their number was not small, and their patterns were unpredictable. However, MacFarlane had understood their basic routines and devised countermeasures. Since all rooms faced the hallway, once they identified the number of guards in the central area, they could apply the tactic of subduing each guard individually. Immediately after acting, they would quickly subdue all guards in this area. A little past 2:30 p.m., a prisoner approached a senior officer, requesting to speak privately. The officer hesitated briefly but agreed, leading the prisoner into a room. At that moment, another senior officer was also in the office. The prisoner began discussing matters with the 2 senior officers. Seeing the 2 officers enter the room, MacFarlane began to approach the production area. There was a guard patrolling there. Calmly, MacFarlane walked up to the production area and asked the guard to open the door, stating that he needed to clean inside. Because of their familiar relationship, the guard opened the door for MacFarlane. With ease, MacFarlane stepped inside. At this moment, Kelly was near the communication room entrance, pretending to be angry. From his position, he could observe 3 guards inside and 2 more in the hallway outside. Bobby was cleaning in the tea room, where 4 guards were having tea. Once everyone was in position, MacFarlane called out Northern Ireland, the prearranged signal. Upon hearing the cue, Kelly, Bobby, and the other prisoners swiftly overpowered the guards. They ordered the guards to stay silent or be shot in the head. Surprised by the rapid action, the guards could only lie still on the floor. Meanwhile, a guard was alone in the medical room with the door closed. After all the guards outside had been subdued, he heard the noise and stepped out, but it was too late. MacFarlane was already there, pointing a gun at his head. Now, all the guards in the central area were under their control. MacFarlane locked them in the tea room, demanded the car keys, and obtained the descriptions and locations of cars in the parking lot so they could escape after breaking out. The guards had no choice but to comply. The prisoners moved quickly and quietly, ensuring no one outside realized that the central area of Building H7 was under their control. Soon after, prisoners in the four wings of Building H7 received word that the central area was controlled and simultaneously acted. Among the 11 guards in the four wings, 8 were subdued by free, moving prisoners, and the other 3 were overpowered after coming out of the bathroom. However, the guards locked in the tea room refused to submit. Seizing a moment of Bobby's carelessness, a high-ranking officer suddenly attacked, causing Bobby's gun to drop. Enraged, Bobby punched the officer hard, causing him to collapse. The loud noise grabbed Kelly's attention. Unnoticed from behind, a guard stood up, planning to counterattack with a baton. Fortunately, Kelly spotted him in time and fired twice, bringing the guard down immediately. Witnessing the scene, the other guards dared not rebel. MacFarlane was cautious, worried that the gunshots might alert guards outside the building, so he quickly ran to the main yard to observe. Luckily, his gun was fitted with a silencer, so the shots were not loud enough to be noticed. Afterward, MacFarlane took the main gate keys from the 2 high-ranking officers, opened the gate, and approached the guard post where an officer was checking vehicles. MacFarlane lied, saying they were sent by a senior officer to clean up. Unquestioningly, the guard let them in. Immediately, MacFarlane drew his gun and aimed it at the guard's head. His 2 accomplices quickly subdued and tied up the guard, then took him back to the tea room at the central area, imprisoning him with the previously subdued guards. By 2:50 p.m., the prisoners had fully controlled Building H7 without triggering any alarms. Subsequently, they moved all guards to the larger and more manageable common room, preventing them from making any coordinated escape attempts. Moreover, the common room was far from the main gate, ensuring any noise would not be heard outside. MacFarlane then ordered the guards to remove their uniforms for the escaping prisoners to wear. After the prisoners changed, he gathered their personal belongings into individually named pillowcases to easily carry out of the prison. Next, Kelly and Bobby covered the guards' heads with bed sheets and tied their hands and feet to prevent any movement. Noticing an injured guard, they demanded the medical room guard to treat the wound. Additionally, they needed someone to manage phone calls, so Kelly took a guard to the communication room, making him sit facing the wall and answer calls as instructed or be shot. Bobby searched the guard's office for documents and photos of the prisoners, intending to slow down police efforts to identify them. Once everything was set, they awaited the arrival of the food delivery truck. At 3:25 p.m., the truck arrived on time. In the vehicle, besides the driver, there was also a guard sitting in the passenger seat. The guard team at the main gate opened the door to let the truck in. MacFarlane, disguised as a guard, was waiting outside. The 2 men in the vehicle had no suspicion. When the vehicle stopped in front of the H7 building gate, they got off and opened the truck's cargo hold to make adjustments. Immediately, MacFarlane and the guard at the checkpoint pretended to help. Unexpectedly, they then subdued the 2 men. Knowing the situation inside the building, the driver had no choice but to follow the arrangements of the guard team. By 3:50 p.m., The team had unloaded all the goods from the truck. The driver's left foot was locked to the clutch pedal to prevent him from escaping. The guard was forced to sit in the passenger seat. Since he and the driver had been long-time companions, delivering goods together regularly, changing personnel abruptly might arouse suspicion among the guards. Kelly, wearing a guard uniform, lay flat on the floor of the vehicle's cab, pointing a gun at the two men. 7 other guards hid in the cargo hold. Kelly threatened that the vehicle was rigged with a bomb and demanded they not do anything. The truck slowly rolled out. The guards remaining in the prison were tasked with subduing other guards. MacFarlane left some barriers behind to prevent any guard from escaping and raising the alarm. 5 minutes later, the truck smoothly passed through the H-7 building gate, heading toward the prison's main gate. Along the way, they had to go through a checkpoint manned by guards. Their hearts pounded with fear of being asked to stop for inspection. Fortunately, because the driver and the guard were familiar faces, the guards did not suspect much and let the vehicle pass without a standard inspection. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. However, to exit through the main gate, they had one more checkpoint to pass. Typically, only cargo trucks were allowed through this checkpoint without a guard accompanying them. When the truck began approaching the checkpoint, Kelly quickly pulled the guard down from the passenger seat. The checkpoint guard looked into the cab and, seeing only the driver, did not ask to stop for an inspection. At 4:00 p.m., the truck entered the final stretch leading to the main gate of the prison. Ahead was the final checkpoint, with a guard station monitoring it. Everyone entering or leaving had to be checked. Even familiar faces were not exempt. Naturally, MacFarlane had foreseen this. He instructed the driver to park in a blind spot from the guard station. He then led a group of prisoners out of the truck, stormed the guard station, and subdued the guards on duty. They then subdued another guard standing at the main gate and dragged him into the guard station. After gaining control of the guard station, a group of prisoners stayed to guard it while the truck went ahead. The remaining group would drive the guards' vehicles behind them. However, at this moment, the truck driver started to harbor thoughts of sabotage. He claimed that it was impossible to park in the blind spot because there wasn't enough space. Kelly, lying on the cab floor and unaware of the outside situation, believed the driver and had him stop right next to the main gate in a highly visible spot. Yet, the guards at the gate and the guards in the watchtower noticed nothing. As soon as the truck stopped, 8 prisoners dressed as guards, including MacFarlane and Bobby, got out simultaneously. Following the plan, they wielded guns and daggers, storming the guard station and subduing the 5 guards on duty. Immediately afterward, 6 patrolling guards who passed by were also captured. Next, a prisoner dressed as a guard went to the main gate and subdued a guard standing on duty, demanding he enter the gate's password. Unexpectedly, the guard chose to die rather than reveal the password, forcing the prisoners to guess the password and continuously attempt entry. By this time, all guards in the guard station and those at the main gate were subdued, leaving only one guard patrolling on the other side of the station. His view was obscured by the building, preventing him from seeing the situation at the guard station and main gate. nor could he hear any noise. At 4:05 p.m., a detained guard made a desperate break for freedom, pressing the alarm button, causing the prison alarm to blare loudly. Guards in other areas immediately called the guard station to confirm the situation. By this time, the guard station was controlled by the prisoners, who forced a guard to answer the phone according to their instructions. The guard said everything was normal, just an accidental activation of the alarm. The caller on the other end, without suspecting a thing, asked a few more questions and then dismissed it. The minor incident heightened the prisoners' alertness. They warned the guards and remaining prison guards not to act rashly, or they would be shot. Guards often changed shifts in the prison, so once the guard station was subdued, other guards frequently passed by, providing opportunities. 2 guards managed to escape from the guard post. They intended to run to the main gate to sound the alarm. Before reaching the gate, one of them was chased by a prisoner who repeatedly stabbed him, causing him to collapse on the spot. The other one was also severely injured. At this moment, a guard in the watchtower noticed something unusual and quickly used the radio to report to his superiors that he saw people fighting at the main gate. Upon receiving this report, the superiors called the guard post, but the response they received was everything is normal. Suddenly, a guard broke free, pushed a prisoner away, ran to the phone, picked up the receiver, and called the control center. Despite the prisoner trying to stop him, he managed to make the call. The guard shouted into the phone that someone had been knocked down. Finally, the control center understood the severity of the situation. They immediately sounded the alarm and informed the police. At 4:12 p.m., the alarm sounded throughout the prison, but it was too late. A prisoner had already opened the main gate, clearing the obstacles blocking the path. The truck was started, ready to leave the prison. At that moment, MacFarlane and Bobby were still in the guard post, unable to get on the truck. While the truck was waiting, several other guards in the prison ran to provide assistance. 2 guards approached, blocked the exit at the main gate, recognizing the urgency of the situation. MacFarlane ordered everyone on the truck to get off. The prisoners hurriedly jumped off the truck and rushed towards the main gate. Just then, the guards locked in the guard post suddenly broke free and ran outside. Some chased after the prisoners, while others tried to close the main gate. However, the main gate was blocked by 2 vehicles, making it impossible to close. The 2 guards tried to get back on their vehicle, but were intercepted by 4 prisoners who forced them to hand over the keys. The aggressive prisoners knocked down the 2 guards, took the keys, and drove the vehicle out of the prison. Seeing one blocked vehicle being driven away, a prisoner rushed to the truck, pulled out the driver, and intended to ram into the remaining vehicle to clear the way. Other prisoners also hurriedly climbed onto the truck. A guard noticed their intention and drove straight into the truck's container. The prisoners panicked and scattered, with some being captured on the spot, while others ran out of the gate, fleeing along the hillside where they were shot and injured by the guards in the watchtower. Some prisoners ran to the parking lot and stole the guards' vehicles to escape. At 4:18 p.m., the main gate of the prison was closed. Although many guards managed to capture some prisoners, more than 20 prisoners took advantage of the chaos to escape, including MacFarlane, Kelly, and Bobby. The prison warden immediately ordered all unharmed guards to pursue them. However, likely fearing the weapons in the prisoners' hands, very few responded, with only 5 guards joining the chase. After some time searching, they found suspicious signs on the low river, about 1 km from the prison. On the water's surface, some reeds were moving and bubbles were rising. Indeed, upon inspection, they discovered 4 people hiding underwater. The authorities arrested 4 prisoners there, including Bobby, one of the 3 leaders. Subsequently, Bobby was sentenced to an additional 5 years in prison for escaping. Upon being notified, the police arrived at the scene. At 4:25 p.m., the police cordoned off the entire area around the prison, setting up checkpoints on nearby roads. All passing vehicles were stopped for inspection. Quickly, checkpoints were established on all main roads in Lisbon, leading to the capture of 3 more prisoners. At 11 p.m., guards patrolling outside the prison captured another prisoner hiding in the bushes. The next day, the police continued to arrest 2 more prisoners in the forest near the prison and 2 at a local resident's home. It was revealed that after escaping the prison, these 2 had broken into the citizen's home, threatening the owner not to report to the police, or else they would kill the entire family. When the police raided the house, the 2 prisoners were hiding in the warehouse. The escape was unprecedented in scale, with 38 prisoners directly participating and most other inmates in Building H7 providing support. Despite the authorities' efforts to recapture them, 19 prisoners successfully escaped. The escape resulted in 1 guard's death, 4 people being stabbed, 2 shot and wounded, 13 beaten, and 42 others slightly injured. Surprisingly, a forensic examination concluded that the guard died of a heart attack. The prison break incident shocked public opinion and became a great source of spiritual encouragement for the Irish Republican Army at IRA. They proudly called it the Great Jailbreak. Many expressed admiration for the IRA's abilities. "We cannot help but marvel at the capabilities of this organization," they said. The IRA helped the prisoners of war successfully carry out the escape. Apart from an unfortunate incident at the last minute, the plan was essentially successful. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher had to speak out about the event. This was the most serious jailbreak in the history of England, necessitating a comprehensive investigation. On January 26, 1984, the Security Investigation Report on Maze Prison was published. Most of the responsibility for the jailbreak was attributed to the prison staff. Their negligence in management led to the escape. The report also made a series of recommendations to improve prison security. Even the architecture of the prison was questioned. After the investigation report was published, the director of Maze Prison resigned. 1 year after the incident, 19 prisoners were arrested for suspected involvement in the death of a warden, with 16 charged with murder. The police asserted that although the warden had a history of heart disease, he wouldn't have had a heart attack if he hadn't been attacked by the prisoners. However, the forensic investigation concluded that the injuries on the victim were insufficient to cause the heart attack. Eventually, the court declared all 16 defendants not guilty. According to the investigation of the 19 prisoners, who successfully escaped from Mays prison. 18 reached the base of the IRA, where they were sheltered. They had the choice to continue participating in armed activities or move to the United States to start a new life with new identities. Most chose the former option, including MacFarlane and Kelly. 3 years later, Kelly and MacFarlane were arrested in an apartment in Amsterdam, Netherlands. At the scene, police seized various currencies, fake passports, and a crate containing 14 rifles and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Subsequently, they were extradited back to Northern Ireland and continued to be detained at Mays Prison. In 1989, Kelly was released after negotiating with the Dutch authorities. In 1997, MacFarlane was released early. He was one of the longest serving inmates at Mays Prison. 1 year later, Bobby was also released. After their release, all three continued to be active in politics, becoming leaders of the Sinn Féin party. Bobby even became the chairman of Sinn Féin in Northern Ireland. In fact, during the troubled times of Northern Ireland, the IRA organized several collective prison breaks. In November 1971, 9 prisoners, known as the 9 Big Bag Chiefs of Kilmainham Jail, escaped from Kilmainham Jail. To get over the prison wall, they secretly made a rope ladder and escaped during a designated hour. 7 successfully escaped right under the guards' noses, while the other 2 were caught. Notably, Bobby was one of the 9 prisoners and managed to escape. However, he was later arrested for possessing a rifle and detained at Mays Prison. In August 1974, 19 IRA members, after overpowering guards, used previously prepared explosives to blow up the prison gate and escape. That same year, 3 IRA prisoners daringly dug a tunnel in the prison to escape but failed. A year later, another group of IRA prisoners attempted to escape while being taken to court. One of these prisoners later became one of the 38 involved in the 1983 break. Perhaps the spectacular 1983 jailbreak of 38 prisoners inspired a series of other escapes from Mays Prison afterward. In one case, a prisoner hid in a garbage truck, got trapped in the waste compactor, and was only discovered when people heard cries for help from the truck. In another case, a prisoner disguised himself as a woman to blend in with the visitors and escape. Many similar jailbreaks occurred until 1998, when the Good Friday Agreement was signed. Mays Prison released hundreds of prisoners early. 2 years later, the prison officially closed. Most of the H-shaped buildings were demolished in 2006, with just a small part preserved as a historical site and an educational place for future generations. The closure of Mays Prison marked the end of an era. It became a historical testament to a tumultuous period in Northern Ireland.